A book on is about the books that I read for the last 40 years. So today I have my special guest. He's Everest Summiter chiropractor, none other than Dr. Greg Varnau. Welcome, Dr. Greg. But I think there's something wrong with your audio. Can you say it again? Can you say
Yeah.
something?
Okay.
Yes. So, Mr. Greg, thank you so much for being part on Book 101 review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah. So I am currently a resident in Venice, California. I live about 20 minutes away from where I was born. But in between that, when I was born and now, I've been passionate about many things. I consider myself a world traveler. I've traveled to over 40 countries. I am passionate about health and human potential and healing. I'm an active chiropractor practicing in Venice, California, and am indeed passionate about many hobbies, one of which is mountaineering.
Mountaineering indeed. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Dr. Greg. Thank you. Speaking of mountaineering, is a sport anyone stumbles to accidentally. Was there a specific moment or a specific mountain or a specific person first made you look at, think, I need to go up there?
Yeah, I read a lot of books growing up related to mountaineering. The most obvious one that popped out at me was Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. I remember reading that when I was younger, a teenager, back in the 90s. I think it came out in the late 90s. It was referring to the 1994 expedition, which they also made an IMAX movie about, where there's essentially a tragedy on the mountain. But I'll just never forget how exciting it was to read that book, and it was an absolute page turner. I loved hearing the stories of the human spirit and resiliency in the face of challenges. Just really spoke to me about what we as humans are capable of doing. And ever since then, I had somewhere in the back of my mind wanted to experience what that was like.
Interesting. Interesting indeed, Dr. Greg. Many climbers describe their first time on glaciers or steep face as both terrifying and deeply familiar. What do you remember about your first real mountain experience that told you this is going to be part of your life?
There's two that stand out. One is growing up. I grew up actually in the Pacific Northwest, up in Seattle, and I was surrounded by mountains up there. So I just recall looking at the mountains as a kid, like before, some of my earliest memories are driving on I-5 into downtown Seattle and looking out over the bridge and seeing the Cascade Mountains up above Lake Washington and Lake Union. And a lot of times they were covered in snow, and I thought they were just one of the most beautiful things to look at. Similarly, with Mount Rainier, driving anytime anyone drives south towards SeaTac Airport, you're struck by this amazing pyramid shooting up into the sky, and it just gives you a sense of wonder. It gave me a sense of wonder looking at something that's so beautiful and iconic. Um, so that really left an imprint on me growing up. My parents also loved to go on hikes, and they're nature lovers, so they took us hiking when we were kids. My dad was a really avid hiker, and me and my sister used to call them more death marches because he was he would absolutely push us to the limit. So they weren't too fun all the time, but the experience of being outdoors and challenging yourself in that way was something that really stuck with me. And then as an adult in my later years, I had the opportunity to travel around South America, Central and South America for over a year. And I did that actually by bus. I went all the way from Cartagena, northern Colombia, clear down to Patagonia in Argentina. And one of the first stops on that route up in the mountains was in Bolivia, outside of La Paz. And that was my first big mountain experience.
Dr. Greg, the mountains are objectively hostile environments, cold, thin air, objective danger. What do you think you were seeking up there that you couldn't find down here?
You know, it took me a long time to realize that, but the reality is, if I'm honest, I was looking for something to satisfy me that actually cannot be satisfied like by our material surroundings. It was really I was looking for God, if I'm totally honest.
Interesting, Dr. Greg. Was there a mentor or a climbing partner who taught you the fundamentals? Was there the most important lesson they impart that was not about technique?
Absolutely, yeah. There's one of my still best friends and good friends is this guy Jim. Um, had been training for a mountain in Alaska, Mount Denali. I wanted to climb the mountain. I was totally new to climbing, relatively. I had climbed Mount Kilimanjaro at that point, but was this mountain was like another level. It was the next level, and I simply was like looking for gear. So I went on Craigslist and I was trying to find some gear, climbing boots to be specific. And so I typed in the search for mountain climbing boots on Craigslist. This guy responded to one of my inquiries, and he essentially offered to give me his climbing boots for free. I just had to go down, drive at that time from Hayward, California, drive down to San Jose to meet him. And so I drive to this location. It's this parking lot in kind of this corporate commercial setting. And there he is standing outside of his truck. He's just kind of a normal looking guy standing there. And I show up, ask him about the boots. He shows them to me. He says, "Oh, yeah, by the way, I have all this other gear as well I'm getting rid of." And I ask him, "Why are you getting rid of all this like great gear? Like it's still perfectly good." And he's like, "Well, I'm constantly making upgrades." And so that just made me curious, like who was this guy that he needs this much gear? Um, he goes on to tell me that he is a seven summiter. He'd climbed all seven summits, the seven tallest mountains of the seven continents, including Antarctica. And he had been on Mount Everest five times. The previous four times, the first four times he didn't summit, each because of its own epic, amazing reason, including the well known earthquake that I think registered at almost an 8.0. He was on the mountain during that year. And needless to say, hearing his stories and his experience left me starstruck. My jaw basically dropped open at that point. He also had been on Denali, Mount Denali, at least seven times, including, and he summited it actually in the winter time, which is pretty insane. So I just wanted to be around this guy as much as possible, and from there we planned a winter snow trip. We did some camping, some winter camping out near the Bay Area.
Interesting, Dr. Greg. At 8,000 meters in the dead zone, your brain is literally starving for oxygen. How do you make critical decisions when your cognitive function is compromised?
You really need to build a lot of trust and a good relationship with your team first and foremost. Most importantly, your Sherpa. Pretty much the vast majority of climbers, somewhere like 99% of climbers on Mount Everest, they all have a Sherpa that their assigned partner essentially. So really trusting that relationship, and you're essentially trusting this person with your life in a sense, because this is your first time ever going up. this mountain, and they have done it many times before and basically live up there. So it's like their backyard. So that's one of the most essential aspects. The second thing, it's really back to the basics. It's like always being responsible for yourself is the other level. Always being responsible for all your belongings, being responsible for making sure you're thinking one step ahead, constantly checking and rechecking the basic things like if you have the right, socks on, if you what's your backup plan if your feet get cold, so everything you kind of have to anticipate all these different factors.
Interesting, Dr. Greg. Fear is a constant companion in the mountains. How has your relationship with fear evolved over the years? Do you feel less of it, or you just learn to move alongside it?
With fear, that's a great question. Fear you can either look at as something that can paralyze you. I think we've all been there before when you're frightened by a certain thought or idea, like what if I run out of money, or what if I lose my job, or you know, all these different scenarios, and you can indeed either freeze under that fear and give up, which is can be tempting at times, or you can use the fear as an ally to basically sharpen your attention, sharpen your focus, and use it as an opportunity to grow and overcome an obstacle that's in your mind.
Mm, grow what is in your mind. There's a concept in mountaineering of a summit fever. The dangerous desire to push for the top despite clear signs you should turn around. Have you ever felt that pull? Or how did you override it?
I definitely have felt that pull. Yeah, there is something for me that's absolutely like magnetic about the summit and the vision of being at the top of a mountain and peak. Um, there is a number of times I can think of where I've had to turn around. Um, there's actually only one I can think of where I had to turn around, and that was the call of my team leader. So he made the choice because of weather conditions and a blizzard that was coming in to turn around. And in that case, I consider myself lucky that I was part of that team, because if it had been up to me, I would have still pressed on, because it's a very real thing. Wanting to reach your goals, you've traveled this far, set aside this time, made these sacrifices. Um, But the reality is, at a certain point, you can only prepare as much as you can, and at that point, you have to hand the rest up to, the external conditions, whether that's weather, your team, different circumstances, and there's different schools of thought. Some people, look at the mountain like it's a spirit, and the more traditional approach is, for example, a Nepalese culture is you have a direct relationship with the mountain. And prior to even climbing it, you're really moving forward with a intention and a question to the mountain itself, even asking for permission to climb it. So I think there's a certain level of humility that's also required in order to really succeed and honor the weight of your trip.
Hmm. Interesting, Dr. Greg. People see the summit photos, but they don't see the month and years of preparation. What does the training cycle look like for someone preparing for a major expedition?
So for Mount Denali, for example, I was training at least 6 months ahead of time. I was on a pretty strict regimen, doing different exercises. Every mountain is unique, so it requires a different level of training. What makes Mount Denali unique is that you are wearing an 80-pound backpack and pulling a 60-pound sled when you during the first week of the expedition. So for that, there required a lot of weight training and essentially walking up really big hills with a backpack.
Mm, interesting. And Dr. Greg, at extreme altitude, your body is literally consuming itself for fuel. What does it feel like to operate in a state of such profound physical depletion?
It can definitely be challenging. There, you're operating on less food essentially because your body can't digest as much food at that altitude. You have a lot of acid in your stomach from the meals you're eating. It's limited on like what you can ingest. Your sleep cycle definitely gets affected as well. So there's many factors. But that being said, I one of my goals when being up there on the mountain was I really wanted to enjoy it. I really wanted to see what is this like to be in this extreme circumstance and can I actually enjoy that? So I remember like this curiosity which is very much a companion during the climb, which is like, what if this could be enjoyable? Or what if this experience could be easy even? And it was just kind of a fun question for me to think of something as hard as Mount Everest and ask that like question: what if this could legitimately be easy? Um, and with that question, I noticed my mind, my strategies, the way that I was thinking of doing things, it all shifted towards that answer. And as long as you're like on it and paying attention to your diet and really doing whatever you can to sleep well, it doesn't, it's not that much different from day to day life. You just kind of get used to it. You have a different surroundings. You wake up and walk out. There's snow outside your door. You're sleeping well in a comfortable sleeping bag. So there's plenty of ways to work with it.
Very well said, Dr. Greg. Mountaineering requires technical proficiency across rock, ice, and snow. Which discipline did you have to work hardest to master and why?
I think anything related to ice climbing was a new experience for me. So um, I had done a good bit of crevasse travel on Denali, but I wasn't by no means an expert. I was definitely more comfortable with traditional like hiking, and I had done some rock climbing. But working with crampons, um, working with the Jumar, which is the metal device that attaches to the fixed line, a lot of that was new for me. So getting comfortable with that and essentially treating these objects as like an extension of my own hand. That's basically the kind of relationship you develop with some of these tools.
Indeed, Dr. Greg. The alpine style of climbing, fast and light, within minimal support, is often held as the purest expression of sport. What appeals to you about the style and what are the hidden costs?
So I think the like what appeals in that is you're totally reliant on yourself. You're reliant on your own abilities. You put a lot of faith in yourself as an individual, and you have to be creative with how you make the most of what you have. So I think that on some level, you know, all of us are looking to simplify our lives. Um, Life can get very stressful and complicated, but when you're up there in the mountains, there's something amazingly beautiful about that lifestyle because you're just focused on nature, you're focused on your day to day, and you're focused on really living a simple life, which I think makes the experience pretty magical and unique.
Magical indeed. So, Dr. Greg, what are your short term and long term goals as a Everest Summiter chiropractor?
So yeah, I had the blessing and the opportunity to do that. I feel very fortunate with my life in that I got to travel around and have as many experiences as I did. A lover of culture and language, so that was always very much a part of my life, learning other languages, experiencing other cultures. With that, at this point, what I'm really passionate about is being of service and giving back to the community. So I see all those experiences I had as simply a way of connecting with other people and really understanding where they're coming from and doing my best to understand where they're coming from and see the world through their eyes and be able to talk with them about a variety of different topics. I love the look on people's faces when they say they're from somewhere like, I don't know, the Philippines or India. And I will say, like, oh, I've been there. I've been to that city you're talking about. And this is what I learned. And this is what I love about your culture. And we're able to have a connection about something that otherwise wouldn't be the case. So these days, it's mostly about chiropractic. My office here in Venice, California. I love opening the doors to the community, getting the chance to help people who have a lot of physical or other mental limitations, and just simply telling them, kind of like my Sherpa told me, like it's possible for you to reach your goals. It's possible for you to get get over the other side of this obstacle, and you can indeed be in a place where you're at peace in your life and you feel fully healthy, and it's 100% possible. And I love being that person, that guide for people.
And good luck to your goals, Dr. Greg, and looking forward for more success. And what will be a piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Really, whatever you can dream up. I didn't realize this until my late 30s or early 40s, but the reality is whatever it is you can dream up, it absolutely is possible if you're willing to look at the long view and if you're willing to have an open mind.
An open mind indeed. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey, Dr. Greg? And thank you for that empowering advice.
Absolutely. Other books I liked related to climbing are Reynold Messner's book, Free Spirit. I really liked Ultimate High by Goran Kropp. Absolutely amazing story. He rode a bicycle all the way from Switzerland to the Himalayas and then climbed up Mount Everest with no oxygen, unsupported by himself. In
Mm,
that, I would say I'm a really big fan of the Bible. I um, I became a Christian this last year, and for me, I could never understand the Bible, but luckily, find someone who can give you a context for it because there's amazing depth and meaning, and you can learn a lot from reading from the Bible. And then
mm,
just a fun read, I would say Murakami, Kafka on the Shore, or Norwegian Wood.
yes. And thank you for that recommended book, Dr. Greg. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in the third season, and my book 101 review in sixth season too, comedy 101 in fourth season, and my food 101 in sixth season as well, geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101, our fifth season, science 101, sex 101 fourth season, and Motivation 101, Spiritual Awakening, Trivia 101, Entrepreneurship 101, Mental Health 101, Law 101, Coaching 101, as well as my Bible Verses 101 are my baby podcasts. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. So, Dr. Greg, for the person listening who feels the pull, who reads about Everest or sees photos of the Alps and feels something steer, what would you want them to know about how to start and how to respect?
I would say the best way to start is to begin. Just go. That's my favorite mountain out there. I'd say climb up Mount Shasta, see what that feels like, or go find a mountain in your backyard.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Dr. Greg, once again, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Thank you so much, Daniel Lucas. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. It's been a really real pleasure talking to you. If you want to learn more about some of the work that I do or stop by my office anytime, you can check out summit-family-chiropractic.com. I'm happy to take care of you or point you in the right direction, anything mountain related, chiropractic related, or otherwise.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. or Dr. Greg Varnau, because if you support him, for sure, more and more mountaineering adventure will rise. So, Dr. Greg, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it, Daniel.
Welcome, people. See you soon.
Bye bye.